as Chris Paul gets in another wide open three.
Pierre Cardin.
Defers to Booker for the long-range jumper.
Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. Chris Paul bring a dinner with the dish. D-Book on the corner with the swish. We the Valley, hating with the dunk. Posterizing, now the crowd getting pumped. We the best, I ain't talking about Cali. Who's next? Never winning in the Valley. Can't wait for that championship rally. Send them home, send them back to Cali. Stand up if you're down for the Suns. Put a finger in the air, we number one. Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the Valley, it ain't nothing but a thing.
Welcome everybody to Season 2 Offseason, Episode 9 of the Aussie Suns Fans Podcast. I am your host, Gavin, and I am joined currently by Boyd and Trev. How are we going, lads?
Super.
Awesome, mate. Awesome, as always.
We are also going to be joined by Hamo at some stage along the line here, and we have a special guest who is going to help us out with our Southeast Division preview. But before we get to that, if you're checking us out on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms that you might listen to, Spotify, whatever else, chuck us a like, chuck us a comment, make sure that you're getting our message out there, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. But we're going to go further in, lads, into our preview, go into the Southeast Division, stick with the Eastern Conference this week. So we'll get those ideas. We will then roll into we'll roll into this week in Suns basketball. So there's a couple of topics there that are probably worth touching on this week. I've got a new segment here, as the light goes off again, a new segment here, Random Suns. So we're going to try something new. Then we'll go into thumbs up, thumbs down, who we want to have a beer with this week, and who is the flog of the week. I have got a feeling, as I introduce him, our next guest, that he may replace my flog of the week by the end of this broadcast and become the new flog of the week. But we'll see how we go. We'll add him in. And we welcome Caleb. Caleb in. How you going, Caleb? Welcome along, Miami Heat fan. Going to help us with the Southeast Division preview.
Good, thanks, mate. How is everyone? Pleasure to be here.
Now, the normal shit that you throw at me in our chat group on Facebook, just be careful throwing that shit out here, all right? Otherwise, we might have to. We've got a special little toy for you. I'll show you, just so you know. If you start to go too far, this is what you'll cop. Just a heads up, so you're well aware what's going to come at you.
Thanks, mate. I'll keep it under wraps.
All right, so we'll go straight into our Southeast Division preview. We'll run through the sides, and then basically we'll just get everyone's predictions and comments. And I know, Caleb, you've been looking forward to this because there's a couple in the division you want to slap. And let's be honest, we play mostly West side, so we probably know more about the teams in the West. Your insight here would be good because you probably see and watch more of these other teams than what we would. So first up, we are going to go through Orlando. Their ins are Paolo Banchero, obviously through the draft. Caleb Houston as a free agent, and Kevon Harris as a two-way player. No outs that I could find anyway at the moment, but they're kind of irrelevant, so who cares? Let's get our guest to speak first. Caleb, tell us a little bit about what you know about Orlando and your prediction on where you think they'll finish in the Eastern Conference.
Well, they're not very good, so we'll start there. Look, I like what Orlando did over the offseason. I think with the number one pick, getting Paolo into the team, they've looks like they've nailed that selection through the preseason. It's quite an interesting roster structure that they've got. They've got about 3 guards on the team and then a million power forwards. So seeing what they do with guys like Johnny Isaac when he comes back healthy will be interesting. I still don't think they'll be very good this season. I've got them penciled in for about 26 wins. I do think Orlando will win a few more games than what people do expect. And I think the bottom of the East is significantly better than the bottom of the West this year. So they should get a couple of wins against some of those Western Conference teams down the bottom there. Look, their power rotation is quite good. I really like Wendell Carter Jr. I think he's a player. And I think getting him in for Vooch, I think it was 2 seasons ago now, was a good move for them. I think Paolo slots in at the power forward spot from day one. I'm not sure who's going to start at point guard this year. I don't think you can play Cole Anthony and Markel Fultz together. But then with Gary Harris, who's gone down for at least the start of the year, I think they'll struggle to fill that shooting guard role. So we might see that combo a little bit more. And I think a guy like Chuma Akiki is a nice little piece off the bench there as well. So, look, I have Orlando 3rd last in the East this year, and I think 26 wins for them would be about right.
Trev?
Yeah, look, I think for me, Orlando's not really going to make a lot of noise. You're just kind of looking for that organic improvement in guys like, your Jalen Suggs, what Paolo can do. That's going to be the time that you flip them on the league pass. They'll probably be in a few games getting down to crunch time, but probably just lack of experience, not having that savvy head under the gun, might cost them a few. But yeah, look, interested to see how they go. I think Caleb's right. It's a bit of a mishmash in terms of parts. So maybe look for them to take on some other things during the year. But look, it'll just be a suck it and see for them at the start and see how they roll out from there. But yeah, wouldn't expect them to make too much noise for this season anyway.
Boyd?
Yeah, so Hamo just brought up Cole Anthony.
We all know Hamo loves him some Cole Anthony.
He loves him some Cole. Hey, 2 guys, and you might be able to elaborate a little bit, Caleb. Mo Bamba and Bol Bol. Are they getting dropped, or are they flight risks? Or I think Bumba's up for an extension, isn't he?
I think Bumba just got an extension this off season, but I think only the first year's guaranteed for Bumba. To be honest, I expected him to leave. I thought a team like Miami, as biased as I am, might have thrown some money at him when PJ Tucker walked. I'm surprised Orlando paid him, given they drafted Paolo, and then they've obviously got Johnny Isaac in the wings coming back. I don't think Bol Bol's a rotation player at this point.
Nah.
Yeah, I can't see him getting any minutes for Orlando this year, given the depth they've got at that position.
Yeah,
cut and dry though. Surely it's when they both finally get healthy, if they both finally get healthy, for the Magic going forward, it is either Isaac or it is either Bumba. Surely.
Well, I like to look. I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons here to our division and our team, right, guys? So I see this team probably back where we were 17, 18, with a bunch of young prospects, a bunch of guys who may get cut, and a bunch of guys who just have that potential to kick on and do something. But I see it very much
style.
Dragon, yeah, not quite here, but yeah, no, I think that they're in for another shit season. I've got them. Look, I haven't attached any sort of win totals to this Eastern Conference, so I'm thinking, I'm thinking low 20s. If I'm to tell you on the spot, and also, mate, what they finished last in the Eastern Conference this season gone. Is that right?
Second last.
Maybe the Pistons finished below them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got them maybe jumping up a couple of spots, but yeah, no, they're not going to compete for a play-in.
I would say, as much as I like to hang it on Orlando, I do think there's 2 other teams we'll talk about today that will be significantly worse than Orlando this year.
Significantly worse?
At least one of them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, I tend to agree. I currently have Orlando finishing 14th, so second last in the East again. But I like the pieces that they have. So obviously, Paolo's a really, really nice pickup, and we saw during the summer league how much impact I think that guy can have. He looks really strong. Their young pieces are good. There's an opportunity there for them to build. Their biggest challenge is that normally when you have really great young players, they stand out in their first or second year, and they haven't had that yet with any of those pieces. The one who stood out the most is Cole Anthony at the moment. Fultz was playing some pretty good basketball before he hurt his knee, but reality is they don't have any real stars on that roster. There's no Penny and Shaq that is there again, going back for what Orlando has at the moment. So I think they're going to be sitting and hovering around the bottom again. I think by trade deadline, they will get rid of either Bamba or Isaac, depending on, whichever one is healthy, I suppose. And if they're both healthy, whoever has the most impact. So they'll struggle again. Our next one we will look at is Washington. Their ins, Taj Gibson as a free agent, DeLon Wright as a free agent, Johnny Davis, Will Barton from Denver, Monte Morris from Denver, and their outs is Ish Smith and KCP at this stage. Caleb, Washington.
Well, this is my hot take for the evening. I think Washington will finish last in the East this year. I think offensively they've got some firepower, but they'll probably be the worst defensive team in the NBA next year. Starting backcourt of Monty Morris and Bradley Beal really concerns me. I think the loss of KCP's gone a little bit undersold. I think he was their only real perimeter defender last year. Kristaps Porzingis can score, he can block shots, but what we know is if anyone can drag him out of the paint, he's on an island and just can't move. And I think those lower leg injuries, and Gav can attest this, I've been quite a big fan of Kristaps Porzingis across his career, but the impact of injuries on his defensive capabilities has just left him in a position where he's no longer the player that he was potentially going to be. Kyle Kuzma's okay. I wouldn't say he's a starting caliber power forward for a good team.
Kyle Kuzma is disgusting. He should be absolutely run out of the league.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure I'd go that far. But
you're well aware he's one of my most hated players in the NBA. So,
that's why I put it in there. I was going to say that he's the future MVP and the best player on this roster, but no, I wouldn't have gone that far. I do think Bradley Beal will have a bit of a bounce back this year. I think, the last couple of years he's been impacted by injuries, and I still think he's quite a good player, but I do worry about him long term as well, particularly on that contract. I have the Wizards at about 22 wins this year. As I said, I think the East will be a lot more competitive at the bottom than the Western Conference this year, but I can't see them winning enough games, and I do think a team like Orlando bringing in Paolo is gonna win a few more games than them this season.
Trev. Before we do go to you, Trev, guys in the chat, jump in, make a comment on where your thoughts are, where these teams will finish. Let's get involved in the chat, and you're all a bit quiet at the moment. Trev, thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think it's no surprise. I mean, previous versions of Washington have always been high octane offense. I can recall, I think it might have been 2 seasons ago against us, we had, Bertans chucking them in from the logo. They just were dropping threes like crazy and ran us out of the building. But yeah, they're never going to stop you with your defense. So Caleb makes a good point with KCP going. Just having a look at the roster, it's a bit of a logjam at that power forward position. You got guys like Kristaps, you've got Kuzma, you've got Avidia there as well. You've got Tibbs's poster boy Taji Gibson's on the roster there, I see as well. Hachimura is there as well. I just can't see how these guys are all going to coexist together. And there's not really a whole lot of look, there's a little bit of delineation between the skill sets, but not of a hell of a lot. So, Yeah, they're going to certainly be entertaining to watch at the offensive end, but gee whiz, they're certainly going to give up a fair bit at the other end. So, not sure if they'll finish dead last. I don't know about that. I think they'll get their way to about 30 wins, but I think there'll be some moves prior to the deadline, just with that, some of those big guys that they have for teams looking for a little bit more front court depth. So we'll see how they go. But and I also think, look, the rumours around a Beal trade, we'll always be following them around as well. So it'll be.
Well, he just signed an extension though, didn't he, Bradley Beal?
He did, but it'll just be interesting to see how loyal he can stay with. You can't see him unless he's putting his up. I don't know. It just
that one has a no trade clause, man. They gave him a no trade clause. Man, they're tight to that guy. He's there for the long haul.
So yeah, we'll see how.
So what do you think? About 30 wins. Where do you think they'll finish, Trev?
Yeah, around about 30 wins. So nowhere near the play-in. Kind of that bottom three spots, probably fighting out for that 12 to 15, I guess.
Boyd.
So I'm gonna similar to Caleb, but I'm gonna switch them around for the last two. So I'll put them in mid 20s, around about that 26 that you had pegged for Orlando. And reason being is I see a lot of guys on this roster who wouldn't be a role player elsewhere. They'd be back of the bench guys in decent clubs. Bradley Beal, I think he's peaked, and I think he's he should be still ascending. But yeah, last year wasn't much top. I don't think Porzingis is going to. Porzingis is a guy. He's a guy that wants to control the ball. We saw it not work with Luka, and I know it was a real a decent offense at the good times, but I don't see them working well together. I think they just don't mesh well. Did these guys have Bryant last season?
Yeah,
I thought he would have been perfect. Forget about Porzingis and just fucking run with him. I was surprised that he ended up fucking off to the Lakers, But yeah, look, I don't see him. I don't see this squad doing anything this season, and I see it's pretty gloomy for the foreseeable future because, like I said, they're stuck with Bradley Beal, and he can't carry a team. And Porzingis is going to be injury prone for the rest. He's going to have a Yao Ming type finish to his career, it seems. And you look at the squad outside of that, and there's not really much there to talk about, is there? I just I don't see it.
I don't have them finishing as low as you guys, mainly because when I look at it, Bradley Beal is a superstar, and if he stays fit, they win games, particularly against the lower sides in the East and the West. What I think they have done is pick up some really, really good, or own some really, really good tradable pieces for deadline. And I think that they will probably look at loading up, as well as some of these other teams, with some first rounders later on to try and rebuild this squad moving forward around Beal, similar to what Portland's doing with Dame at the moment. I think Will Barton is an underrated pickup. I think at both ends of the floor, Will Barton at Denver was quite a handy piece. So I have Washington finishing about 12th. I still think they'll pick up. They've got enough experience to beat these lower teams, and we'll speak about another one in a minute. But certainly sides like Orlando, I think Washington will have it over sides like that. So I have them finishing about 12th. But in all honesty, similar to what Trev said, between 12th and 15th, those sides could basically finish anywhere.
No one's mentioned Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, I mentioned
Rui had no impact last year, which was disappointing because I had really high hopes for Rui, but I think he spent a lot of the year injured.
Yeah, he didn't get that confidence.
He was. I do think with Rui, though,
another one too that showed a bit when he had a purple patch there for a while. So
I do think with Rui, his strengths don't really mesh in well with the current roster. And I think someone like Avdia, who's a better defender, might be the backup to Kuzma this year at the power forward spot, which leaves Rui, I think was touched on before, leaves Rui out of the rotation. I think he's a prime trade candidate at the deadline, and I could see some teams, throwing maybe not a first round pick, but a couple of seconds at Washington to pry him out of there if that is the case.
A little bit of value around Rui for a trade. Our next team will be Charlotte. Ins at the moment, Bryce McGowan's on a two-way and Mark Williams. Outs, I couldn't really find anything, but let's be honest, they will have a fairly significant out because nobody in their right mind right now is signing Miles Bridges. So, Caleb, what's your thoughts there with Charlotte?
Look, I found Charlotte the hardest team to rank out of this group, and I probably had them a little bit too low going into the show. I think LaMelo Ball has the potential to have a real breakout this year and become a superstar of the competition. Rozier's a good scorer. He doesn't offer a lot outside of that, but their front court, they've got a lot of depth, but no starting caliber players outside of PJ Washington. Like Mason Plumlee's likely going to be the starting center going into the season. I don't think Mason Plumlee should be starting for any team at this point. The loss of Miles Bridges is huge, and I agree. I think he's very unlikely to be playing anywhere this year, and probably more likely to be in prison at this point than playing in the NBA, depending on the outcome of his court proceedings. But look, at first I had them second last in the division. It's probably a toss-up between them and Orlando. I'm a little bit higher on Orlando because I think Paolo brings something that they haven't had in a long time. So I have them around the 25 win market, which is probably around 13th in the Eastern Conference. Again, I think they're a team that maybe they look to upgrade or move someone like a Gordon Hayward to bring a starting caliber center into the team. The problem with Hayward is that given his contract and his injury history, you almost have to attach a first round pick to him just to get him out of there at this point in time. And although some people swear that Kelly Oubre Jr. is the next Jesus, he's one of the worst defenders I've ever watched in a game. I think last year he ranked almost dead last at his position defensively.
Jeez, mate, you're going to upset some Suns fans that want Kelly Oubre Jr. to come back.
Oh, look,
he looked good doing it though, as he sucked defensively.
He did. He's a very good-looking man. I'll give him that. He's a very good-looking man. But outside of that, look, I don't think he's the answer to them long-term on the wing either. So I expect a big leap from LaMelo and a lot of usage for him and Rozier, but probably not a lot of wins.
Trev.
Yeah, it's another one that you look at the roster again. It's like it's pretty outside of LaMelo and Miles more than likely being in the clink. It's pretty uninspiring, right? So, and I'm also hearing or reading rumblings that the ball camp isn't necessarily happy with the roster construction, which you never want to hear coming into a season. The
ball camp not happy.
That's exactly right. So look, it's not good. You'd love to see LaMelo paired with a great pick and roll center. Those two would just pick it apart. Lob threats, all of that kind of stuff would be awesome. But again, probably similar to Washington, they're going to be able to put up some points, but gee whiz, they're going to have a hard time stopping anyone as well. So again, I think they'll be in that mix of that 12 to 15 slot. And I think Miami could start the season after the All-Star break and win this division at this rate.
Boyd.
Yeah, got them at about 35. I think they were around about the 40, 42 mark.
It's not a whole lot. Yeah, is that something around that. They'll have a run, but mid-30s, I'd say. 35, around about that mark.
Boyd.
Yep, cool. I thought I froze up there for a sec. No, LaMelo, nah, not a fan. He's just a guy I don't like. I don't like the balls in general.
I know. I've heard that about you, that you don't like your balls. I mean,
They're in my missus' handbag, mate. Don't you
Well
worry about that.
aware. Well aware.
No, I've got I like James Booknight. I like his
So do I.
potential, but he's nowhere near ready to do it consistently yet for these guys. I like PJ Washington as a guy, but he's someone who I think has a little bit of trade value and could be moved on to get that big man you were talking about, Trev, like someone there to mesh a bit better with LaMelo. But yeah, Terry Rozier, he's always solid, but he's not moving many needles for me. So I think they take a drop. I think they come back down to earth. The people will work LaMelo out a bit more. They'll game plan for him a bit better, and I think that they fall back about 5 or 6 wins to 35.
Here's my big prediction out of this division. Charlotte will finish dead last in the East. LaMelo Ball will be out with a season-ending injury by halfway through, probably by All-Star break. Miles Bridges is a massive loss. Miles Bridges and LaMelo were forming some hell of a duo there for a while there, but reality is, look at their roster. It is holes galore. If your second best player is Gordon Hayward and he can't get on the floor, that's a massive, massive issue. I do like the fact that they will struggle that badly that James Booknight will get more minutes and play way more basketball. And I think by the end of next season, here comes the headline, LaMelo Ball demands out of Charlotte by the end of next season.
So you calling it a circus?
It's always been a circus. He may be the GOAT, but Michael Jordan needs to sell the fuck out of Charlotte and get out. He is not a good owner.
I do think too, just on Booknight, he's been touched on a couple of times. I quite like James Booknight. I think he's got a lot of upside. But he struggled under Borrego last year. There was obviously issues between the two of them. And you've got Steve Clifford coming back. We've seen how it's played out with all offensive shooting guards with Clifford before in Malik Monk, and he wouldn't even put him on the floor. I'd be surprised if Booknight saw more than 15 minutes a game this year. I think his upside's there, but I just Clifford's a defensive-minded coach, and a bloke that just refuses to play defense or even try on that end is going to struggle to get minutes.
And they've got the problem is that you have a look at the makeup of the roster. The other concern for them is obviously, you said starting center before, Miles Plumlee. Montrezl Harrell should be a starting center, but he's a catastrophic sook of a player. So there's always going to be issues there as well. Just the overall makeup of this roster is significant issues and alarm bells.
I would have liked McGee on the Hornets.
I think he's almost the perfect player for LaMelo to play with as well. That role it's touched on before, but and he plays a little bit of defense as well. He's high energy. Someone like that would have been perfect. Hurdle from the Spurs, but
well, the problem is that the Hornets had Miles Bridges either way, whether they re-signed him or traded him, and then he went out and bashed his misses. So now he's no good to anyone. Next team up is Atlanta, the Ins. And let's be honest, some significant ins for the Hawks. DeJounte Murray, obviously from the Spurs. AJ Griffin, Maurice Harkless, Justin Holiday, one of our favourites, Aaron Holiday. Another one of our favourites, Frank Kaminsky, Tyrese Martin and Trent Forrest. And going out is Sharif Cooper, who was waived, Danilo Gallinari to the Spurs, who the Spurs then waived, and Kevin Huerter to Sacramento. Thoughts on Atlanta there, Caleb?
Look, they had a relatively good off-season, and they had to. I think Miami made them look pretty second-rate in our first-round matchup in the playoffs. I love DeJounte. I think he's a fantastic player. I guess my concern at the moment is that he had all the usage in the world at San Antonio last year. You're not going to get that playing next to Trey. I think he moves the needle for them, but by how much, I'm not convinced. I think there's a clear gap between the top 6 in the East and then Atlanta. I think they're sort of that 7th, 8th best team along with Chicago. I think they'll probably finish on about 45 wins this year. I think and I do have them ahead of Chicago, so I have them 7th in the East this year. But yeah, look, I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes with DeJounte and with Trey. I'm not sure how much you can play DeJounte and or Okongwu or Capella at the same time unless you have Bogdanovic and Trey on the court. And then obviously you've got 2 really, really poor defenders, albeit surrounded by some good defenders there. I just think there's some holes. I think their bench is a real concern. Deandre Hunter's the other one. I think, he's a prime breakout candidate this year. I think he showed some signs and then got injured last year. But I think if his offense comes on, if he can start to hit down those open threes, then they're a real threat to jump into the top 6. But unless that happens, I think they're probably behind that top 6 in the East.
So before I move on to Trevor Boyd here, you've got Atlanta finishing 7th, basically around the same place as Chicago. They picked up a guard, so effectively the dynamic duo there is DeJounte and Trey. Obviously, we're not going to speak about Cleveland in this section, but you believe that Cleveland, with the pickup of Donovan Mitchell, is a better pickup for Cleveland than what Atlanta's done?
Look, I think in a vacuum, Mitchell's a better player than DeJounte. I don't think the gap's as large as what other people might argue. But I expect a lot of improvement from a guy like Mobley this year. I think he's got the capacity to end up a superstar player, and I think Garland is quite a good player as well. Obviously Trey is. I just think Cleveland have more. I think their starting 5 has the potential to be really good, and I think the thing with Cleveland is, all of their best players are under 25. So there's a lot of room for development from that roster. I think Trey's peaked, and his peak's great, but, the only way he gets better is defensively, and I just don't see that happening.
Trev?
No, it's a pretty good summation there. Definitely this will be a team outside of ours. In the first couple of weeks I'll be watching on League Pass. I'm a huge DeJounte Murray fan. Absolutely love what he brings. So really keen to see what happens. Also interested to see what happens with John Collins as well. Is he still going to be with them long term? Hear him, getting flagged in trades, etc. So it's another one. Look, an exciting team to watch. Clearly, it's hinging on how that relationship between Murray and Young goes. That's clearly where it's going to be. If it exceeds expectations, well, they're going to be right there. Will it though? I'm not so sure. Unless we see improvements defensively, they're just going to struggle there at the business ends against the elite. And as we've rightly touched on, teams like Cleveland will have gone past them. It seems a bit of a stretch for them. So look, they'll make the playoffs, but I can't say them. I think they'll struggle to get out of the first round.
Just on that too, I forgot to touch on
go.
starting Miami Heat future power forward, Big Johnny Collins. So apologies for that, but that was all I had to say.
He's coming to the Suns though, right?
He's a Miami native, mate. He's basically ours.
I just wanted to say that because Boyd's in here, and he really does not like John Collins. Boyd, comments on Atlanta?
Yeah, so not only Collins, but Trey. Not a fan of Trey. And just so as you know, Caleb, I openly dislike players that get shine over my star players who are in the same tier. And so Trey's one of them, of course, because he was in that 2018 draft and highly, highly regarded as a better pick than DeAndre. So I can see you getting ready to argue that one, but yeah, no, that's one for another day. But look, ultimately, guys, I think I like the additions of the Holiday brothers, both Justin and Aaron.
you guys, Phoenix fans need to fucking let go of Aaron Holiday as a good player. He is not a good fucking player.
I don't.
Justin is, though.
Justin is. Aaron is not. He will not play any minutes in Atlanta. 0.
Dude,
he's coming in behind 4 guys. He is not playing fucking minutes.
He's 25, man, and he hasn't had much burn. So let's just fucking
he's shit
on the Aaron Holiday. I think he's going to be great. You know, at the back end of the bench for the Atlanta Hawks. So
he's going to play some magnificent minutes in blowouts. That's what he's going to do.
If we were to have lost DA, I would have loved to have seen Clint Capella. I like that guy because he's a guy that doesn't need touches. He's happy to go about his work, rack up rebounds, and just be a really good rim protector. So, and there's no whinging from him. I like him in this, and the whole DeJounte and Trae Young thing. They're the perfect yin and yang. You've got this, but you're right, Caleb. He's going to have some. I think he will have some issues with the fact that he's come from a high usage environment into one with fucking Trae Young of all people. So, yeah, I think if he might get jack of it and pull a KD and ask out after you know, who knows. But yeah, look, I've got these guys again. The top half of the Eastern Conference is pretty tough. I've got these guys scraping into the 8. So yeah, they're going to be in that play-in territory again, I think.
Yeah, agree. I have them finishing 7th as a play-in team. DeJounte and Trae is great. The reason that Capella is such a big piece to Atlanta is because he isn't a high-usage sook guy. Runs a really, really strong pick and roll, which will work with both DeJounte and with Trae Young. Look, even though I don't fully agree with Caleb that John Collins will end up in Miami, I still think that John Collins will go probably by trade deadline. I don't know where he'll go, but he'll probably go because he is a guy that wants usage and isn't getting as much as he wants. Overall, though, decently balanced team. They signed Aaron Holiday and Frank Kaminsky to come off the end of the bench. That's great. Yes. They're only going to play dead minutes. Justin Holiday's an underrated piece for them, but I think they'll go okay. 7th, probably end up making the playoffs by winning in the play-ins. Our last team to speak about, and this will probably go for 45 minutes, but Caleb, the Miami Heat, their ins, Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, Jovic, Darius Days on a 2-way, Marcus Garnett on a 2-way, Kyle Guy, Michael Mulder, and Javonte Smart all waived. Nobody's ever heard of those 3. No one cares. Honestly, I still think you'll end up with one more in, which will be Jay Crowder, but that's just me. What's your thoughts on the Heat?
You've gone and stolen my thunder there, mate, because I was going to mention that Jay Crowder will make his way back to Miami at some point this season, and I do think that there's probably some stuff in the works at the moment to get him to Miami.
Yeah, I think in the next 2 weeks, Jay Crowder will be in Miami.
Yeah, he clearly wants to be there at the moment. There's a lot of flirting happening on social media at the moment, and the thing with Crowder is he fits our roster. And we've brought essentially the same team back outside of losing PJ Tucker. And I think Jay Crowder's quite a nice replacement for Tucker. He's not the defender that Tucker is, but he's probably, he is a better shooter. At least he can shoot from different areas rather than just sit in the corner. Look, I think we'll be good. I do think that other teams have gone past us in the East. I have us as the 5th seed at the moment, depending on what happens with that power forward position. I think the Tyler Hero deal gets done probably the day before the start of the season because that's Miami's way. And I think Tyler into the starting lineup is basically a done deal. I quite like it. I think he's a 3-level scorer that we haven't had in quite a while, particularly at that position. And as a starter, he's surrounded by some pretty quality defenders in Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Lowry on the possessions that he decides to defend. So they can kind of mask his weaknesses a little bit. I say this every year, but I expect another leap from Bam this year. Probably the best center in the NBA by a stretch. But no, I think Bam's he's an elite defender. I think the offense continues to develop. He does cop it a little bit on social media for being a passive player. At the end of the day, he averaged 19 points and 3.5 assists from the center position last year as a passive offensive player, taking 12 or 13 shots a game. So I think if he can get up around that 15, 16 shot attempts per game, he should break that 20 points per game. I think, Jimmy's Jimmy. There's no point talking about him. He provides the same thing every year. Lowry's interesting. I do think that they'll give him quite a few games off again this year. And look, let's not talk about Bam unless we want to argue. What my hot take going into the season, if we don't make a trade, is that Haywood Highsmith will be the starting power forward for Miami going into the year. I don't think it's Caleb Martin. I quite like Caleb Martin, but he's 6'5", and he weighs about 200 pounds when he's wringing wet. So I'm not sure, given Miami play a really high switch defense, I'm not sure you want Caleb Martin getting switched onto Joel Embiid in the post for too many possessions. But look, I have us fifth. I think 48 wins is about right for Miami this season. I think we'll probably struggle early. We've got quite a tough draw, and then there's my son just popping in to say hello. And then we've got a nice easy run after the All-Star break. And as we've seen from the rest of the division, there's not a lot in the Southeast Division. So yeah, that's where I have us.
Trev, thoughts on Miami?
I was going to ask Caleb just quickly what he thinks will happen with Duncan Robinson.
I think Miami would give Duncan Robinson away at this point.
His contract's horrible. Let's be honest.
He's an elite shooter, but he doesn't provide anything outside of shooting. When you've got guys like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, there's a lot of guards on this roster. I haven't even mentioned Kyle Lowry. I just don't see a role for him. I think it's really hard to find a role for a guy who offers one thing and one thing. He tries hard. It's not that he doesn't try on defense. He's just not a good defender. I see him being moved in the deal that brings Crowder in. And I think it's probably, it's not going to be to Phoenix, but I think a third team, maybe Utah with Bogdanovic going to Phoenix might be the way to go. Utah are clearly trying to tank, and I think a guy like Robinson, for them to chew up some cap over the next couple of years, might be good if they get a couple of picks coming back the other way from Miami. So yeah, I don't think he's there for the long term, and I just don't see a role for him.
As long as they don't fucking play him against Phoenix, because every time he fucking steps on the court, it seems like he hits 7 threes.
Yeah, well, they got a hold of him. I think, the first game we played him last year, he got a hold of us. And then first quarter of the game against them when we played them in Miami, and then kind of shut them down after that. It was a good defensive effort from us. But yeah, I kind of agree. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, and that certainly seems likely. But yeah, just how quickly you can go, I guess, from the penthouse to the shithouse. I guess he was, you jag that big deal and then find yourself riding the pine because you just can't get it done defensively. And I think you're right. It's not because lack of effort or endeavor. He's just not blessed with the tools to succeed at that end. But that's how it goes. I think Miami are always going to be thereabouts, got some solid pieces, and the beautifully tanned head coach runs a pretty good operation all across the board there. The guys buy in, they've got a solid system. They know what they're doing. So interesting to see what happens. I'm glad that you mentioned Highsmith. I'm quite big on him. He's, came in, gave a fair bit of impact. So I think Crowder would easily fit in. So it's no surprise to see a lot of Miami fans asking to get him back. So it's a pretty logical move. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. And I guess, the eyes will be, and I guess how far Miami goes is the jump that Hero takes. If he steps it up, they could be right there, kind of Final Four in the East. If not, if it plateaus and, guys like Lowry and Butler have some injury troubles, then they might drop through. But I'll back them in at least to get to the at least top 4 in the East, and then with they'll be a tough out in the playoffs because they're just so seasoned and great system. So always got a lot of respect for them.
So Tyler Hero, just before we go to Boyd, Tyler Hero is the poor man's Devin Booker. Boyd.
Yeah, too right he is. He's I think he'll be a Tyler Hero. Who knows, man? Like he could be the next Jamal Crawford, the best 6 man ever type thing, or he could take a step and solidify himself as a multi all-star for years to come. But look, I like Bam. I like Jimmy. I used to like Kyle Lowry, but these this is getting older and older, right? And they've lost a lot of grunt with PJ Tucker. I don't know. The way that Jimmy Butler plays and he puts the team on his shoulders a lot, I don't see it being sustainable. And injuries are starting to creep in with him a bit too. Look, I still think he's going to be an all-star caliber player for him. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he hasn't been able to get him across the line in the past, and I don't think he's going to be in a position to to improve too much on what he's doing now. So, Kyle Lowry, I'm not sure he was out of shape last season. Again, another
rounds of shape.
Round is a shape.
I do think on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, but I think what you were going to say is I think Pat Riley's got in his ear, and I think he might have trimmed down a bit, and he's pretty fit looking nowadays.
Yeah,
but
I do think through that, because I agree. I like it, and recency bias is always there, and I think if you watched him in the playoffs, it was horrendous at times. But Bam missed 25 games last year. Jimmy missed 30-odd games last year, and through that middle period, Lowry really carried Miami, and that was that December period. I think we had the number 1 record, at least in the East. I think maybe for the entire NBA for the month of maybe Boston had us pipped, but I think he was good last year, but I think people needed to taper expectations. He averaged 13 and 7. He's 36 years old. He's never been an elite scorer, and I think Miami fans had this expectation that that Kyle Lowry was going to come in and average 20 points per game. It's just not. It's not what was going to happen. It's not who he is. So I think he'll be okay. But
I don't. I didn't realize that he had that purple patch in that. As well. I don't watch much Miami, of course, but yeah. Look, I'm just. I'm interested to see what Victor Oladipo does, as like he's had a couple of years back now, a couple of seasons back, well, last season, working his way back into the rotation. He's re-signed, of course, and I think he's probably a prime candidate to get back to some of his form from the past. I think that's what you guys would be hoping for anyway. But look, you've got some really good players. I just don't see it being sustainable. I think PJ Tucker was a big loss. You can fucking have Crowder, man. I can have him back if he's going to carry on.
I'll take him at this point.
I was talking to a Miami fan. One of my mates is a Miami fan, and they reckon that they love Jay Crowder on and off so much throughout his time at the Heat. So there'll be a 5-game streak where they just be like, Crowder this, Crowder that, and then they just fucking be off him. And he's done a bit of that for
that sounds exactly like Phoenix Suns fans, to be honest.
Mate. So you're like, I'm happy for you guys to take that sort of consistency. His defense dropped off this season gone. So if we can get a Bogdanovich out of him, something, I guess. But yeah, look, I've got these guys top 5. You guys were the number 1 seed last season, and I think you will fall off a bit.
Yeah, that was similar to me. I think having them 5th, I don't expect to fall back dramatically. I think Jimmy Butler will still be Jimmy Butler, but unless someone like Tyler Hero leads us in scoring next year, I think we'll struggle to match that top four in the East. There's a lot of firepower this year. Boston are just getting better, and to be honest, Boston should have beaten us in 6 games in the conference finals. We were lucky that Jimmy really carried us to that being a 7-game series. So
you're thinking, well,
I think 5th for Miami. Yeah, unless we make a change at the 4 spot and it's not Jay Crowder. I like Jay Crowder. I do want him back, but he's not going to move the needle too much for Miami. I do think it was Trev touched on it before that Miami will be a tough out. We always are in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that we
Pat Riley, fucking.
He's been the best for a long time.
He can get heaps of shit and put it together and force it to play well.
Well, what it's how many undrafted guys are currently on that Heat roster? There's like
Haslam,
3 or 4.
Strus, Vincent, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Darius Days. Oh, we won't worry about the 2 ways.
Darius, yeah. But
so,
that's 5 guys that have played minutes that are undrafted, sitting on a team that finished first in the East. That's Pat Riley knows his shit. He knows how to put it together. That's what he does. But look, end of the day, Caleb was very happy. One of our first episodes last season, he listened in, and I predicted Miami to finish first in the East last year. He was very happy with me. You're welcome. They won't finish first in the East this year. I think they'll finish about 4th. I'm going to give them a little bit more credit to what you two have. And I'm assuming that both of you have Brooklyn in front of them. But I think Brooklyn will absolutely implode. While they'll still be a playoff team, I don't think they're going to finish in the top 4 in the East. So I think Miami will hold on to 4th spot, and mainly because Tyler Hero will step up, and Tyler is a very, very, very good scorer. And the advantage that Miami have there is that they surround him with very, very good defenders, because he's not a great defender. But Kyle Lowry can defend, Jimmy Butler can defend, Bam Adebayo can defend. I don't know why Victor Oladipo re-signed, because apparently him and Jimmy Butler hate each other's guts, but that was another rumor last season, wasn't it?
I do think on Oladipo, he's going to get the Tyler Hero usage from last year. So, I mean, whether it's positive or not, I think he'll put up numbers because he's going to have the ball a lot. He was really good defensively in the playoffs. Offensively, I worry, and you can't have him and Jimmy on the court together because their game styles are so similar, but Butler's significantly better than Oladipo at it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
But if you're getting 18 minutes to 20 minutes out of Depot, while Jimmy rests, and Jimmy needs to rest more, so it's going to be pretty handy to have Depot coming in as his backup for 18 minutes.
Well, and he's going to miss 20 games a year. Like, that's been consistent with his time, certainly in Miami. So I think Depot's a nice piece that you can slot into that starting role for those games, and he'll put up some numbers against poor teams. I don't think he's the Oladipo of a few years ago, and really he's had one really good season, and the rest have been, not average. He was still a good player, but they weren't as good as that. I think it was the one year with the Pacers where he was an all-star and made second team All-NBA and that sort of thing. I don't expect that, but if we can get, 15 points per game out of him off the bench, and I think that's quite that could happen. I actually think he'll average more points per game than Lowry this year. I think that'll be helpful, but I just worry about that 4 spot at the moment. I like Highsmith. I don't think he's a starting caliber power forward, and I don't think Caleb Martin's big enough to play it on this roster in a switch-heavy defense like we have. So that's why I have them behind. Even Brooklyn. You look at Kevin Durant. Who have we got to go with him at that spot outside of Bam? And then you get hurt by even league average centers because they're getting switched onto Caleb Martin, who's weighs less than I do. So it's a bit of an issue at the moment. But I do think if they don't make a move before the season, it will certainly happen at the deadline.
Well, honestly, it's the same issue that us Suns fans sit here and debate pretty much every week. The number 4 or the 4 position is a problem at the moment. So the 2 number 1 sides basically have the same issue. We'll see how it plays out. Caleb, thank you very much for joining us, mate. Much appreciated. It gave us a little bit more in-depth discussion that we normally would have had in the shit house. What do you call yourselves? The Southeast? Because nobody cares.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Maybe throw to someone else to chair the podcast next time, because Gav can barely get his words out. One thing I'll just quickly say, and not because it's the Suns podcast, I do think the Suns will bounce back this year. I think they're probably the most underrated team heading into the season. A lot of people have them sort of slipping to 3rd or 4th in the West, but I think they're really in for a shot this year. So thanks all for having me, and have a good night.
Cheers, mate.
See you, mate.
You're a star, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll have you on when we play the Heat later in the season.
Look forward to it, mate.
Thanks, buddy. All right, we will move on. And right now, I am going to bring Hamo into the chat. Hamo, how you going, buddy? You can talk, Hamo.
Hey, guys. What's going on? How are we doing?
Wonderful, mate. Did you enjoy that little segment there with Caleb?
I really did, actually, man. I think this is a good idea going forward. I think we can find a few different people from a few different fan bases, and it's really interesting to see the outside looking in.
Excellent. Let's crack into some Suns basketball now, yeah? This week in Suns basketball, all we want to do is touch on a couple of things that have come up this week. So, number 1, quickly, just want everyone's opinion. How does the Donovan Mitchell trade impact the Phoenix Suns? Obviously, Donovan Mitchell traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Boyd, what are your thoughts? How does it impact the Suns?
Well, we're never going to get Donovan. We had some pipe dreams there for Sexton in some sort of weird fucking strange way, and didn't happen, of course. How does it affect the Suns? Well, I think it just frees up the market a little bit. Sort of pondering on it, and I think there's more people to talk to now. I think that's the main takeaway from it. But as far as there could have been something tricky, as we know Flex was talking about some 4-team trade with Utah and Brooklyn at some stage. That's obviously out the window now, maybe. But yeah, look, I don't think it really does. Good on him. He's better off being in fucking Cleveland than New York. That's for sure.
Trev?
Yeah, look, I don't think it's affected us directly. I guess what it has done is kind of got the market a little bit more in touch with reality. I think what was given is a little bit more on par versus kind of what Minnesota coughed up for Gobert, and what Brooklyn were after as well. I'm not saying Durant's the same player as Mitchell. He's clearly a superior player, but I just thought that was a little bit more on par with what's going on there. So, yeah, look, from a Suns point of view, it's not going to do a hell of a lot, but it'll just be interesting to see how he slots in. I guess something to watch is, I think Mobley won't be eligible to sign a rookie extension while Mitchell's on that contract, so he'd need to opt out of that contract and then sign again. So that's something to keep an eye on down the track. I think most of us are pretty high on what we've seen of Mobley so far, so that's maybe one to keep an eye on down the track. But all in all it is from our point of view is that clearly everyone's up for grabs in Utah if the price is right. So have at it.
Hey, mate.
Look, I really don't know. If you're Donovan Mitchell and you're in Utah and you wake up the next morning, you're in like you're going to be in Cleveland. I feel real bad for the brother. You know what I mean?
Why? Utah's a fucking bigger hellhole than Cleveland is.
Look, in terms of how they've ranked over the last season or two, I think Cleveland, I know it's probably not the division we're talking about, but Cleveland are looking really fucking awesome with their starting five at the moment. So I think it's a good trade. I don't know how it ends up for Utah. I mean, they got Lowry Markkinen, didn't they? Part of the deal.
They did.
He's always been an okay player, man. He just needs the right teacher, right tutelage. So, yeah, no, I think it's kind of a win-win. Yeah.
Impact to Suns is exactly what Trev said. It basically opens up the entire remainder of the Jazz roster if the Suns want to have a crack. So there's a lot of talk about, and one of them we'll speak about next, but you look at Clarkson / Connolly, there's opportunities there for the Phoenix Suns to get on the phone. That's about the impact that we're going to have there. And in saying that, let's flow on. Bojan Bogdanovic, the news came out this week that the Suns are interested. We spoke about it last week. Most of the guys last week on the call sort of went, no, not really. But then Boyd tonight, who were you on? You weren't on last week, were you, Boyd?
I think it was. Yeah, I was here, mate.
Where?
Yeah.
So
he made
Boyd,
a celebrity
you suggested before
if
you suggested before if Jay Crowder goes to Miami in a three-team trade and we get Bogdanovic back, you'd be okay with that?
Okay, so here's the thing: if Jay gets to a point where he's got to go, I wouldn't be.
I think Jay's gone past that point. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I was really and you probably my last chat about the whole Jay Crowder thing. I was all about him being a professional and working it out. Look, Bogdanovic, and he doesn't excite me. He's great. He's great for spacing. He's a great spot-up shooter, all that sort of stuff. But I think we lose a lot of defense with him. And so look, I'm not overly excited about him. Also the Clarkson thing as well. But if we've got to move on from the guy and we need someone who's serviceable, do it. But if they're doing it to start him over Cam Johnson, I fucking hate it. He'd have to accept a bench role, and I'm not gonna throw too many stones at that trade of getting Bogdanovic on the Suns, but if it has to happen, but I'm not getting excited about it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Boyd. I think it's just a move kind of thing. I don't think Bogdanovic isn't going to be the guy that pushes us to that next tier where we want to get to, right? I'm not sure Clarkson is either. And you're dead right. If Crowder goes, Cam Johnson has to start. Just no ifs or buts. Yeah. It just has to happen. So
I don't like
18 million, I think he's on. It's an expiring, but 18 million for a guy. Is he going to be willing to embrace coming off the bench? Question mark. I think we've spoke about it a couple of pods. Certainly last time I was on. I'd much prefer Harrison Barnes if we could get him as opposed to Bogdanovic. So I'm not saying, I understand they're in two different situations, but ideally he'd be the guy that I'd covet over Bogdanovic. Choose him 11 times out of 10 if we had to choose between the two.
Yep.
Hey, mate.
Look, I just want to point out one thing. You said that we had difference of opinions last week, but you did feed us the wrong player last week.
Yeah,
initially.
And I also clarified that before we started speaking about it. So
all right. Second thing, I went to school with a fella who had the exact same spelling of his first name, and it was pronounced Boyan. So I don't know if we're pronouncing it the incorrect way or not.
I don't care. I'm pronouncing it the Aussie way. Don't give a fuck.
Okay. Well, Bojan. I'm good for it, but you guys said everything. It's a curse of going third or almost last. He'd be great, but just not starter. I think Cam Johnson's earned that spot if Crowder disappears.
There's a reason Jay Crowder wants to leave the Phoenix Suns, and the reason is that the Phoenix Suns have already spoken to him about coming off the bench behind Cam Johnson. I am absolutely convinced of this. If Bogdanovic comes in, he comes in as a backup to Cam Johnson. So to me, it's cut and dry in that sense. He is a far better shooter than Jay Crowder is. He's far more dangerous on the offensive end.
Hell yes.
Do we lose on defense? Yes. Jay Crowder's a better defender than what Bogdanovic is. But Bogdanovic off the bench, and what did we speak about last year? All fucking season. The fact that our bench can't score. Unless Cam Johnson's in that rotation, our bench couldn't score. You put Campaign, Bogdanovic, Dario Saric in that second unit, all of a sudden the floor spreads a bit and we're getting more open shots. We're putting more impact on the scoreboard. To me, it's cut and dry. Jay Crowder is not a number one shooter. Neither is Cam Johnson when they're on the floor in a bench unit. Bogdanovic is. He's a scorer. He needs the ball. So I think what they tried to do with Shamet was to have him take the ball on a catch and shoot situation. Didn't work out for us. I think Bogdanovic should fit in much nicer there.
If we were to have to move on from Crowder, which is looking like it, I'd prefer to get some sort of draft capital and just bump it.
James Jones isn't taking draft capital, mate.
Yeah,
he doesn't like draft capital.
If there's a plan for a deadline move to add that extra little bit of oomph there, I think it'd be writing on the wall that's what they were doing if they make a move like that, and that's what I'd like to see. But yeah, you're probably right. James Jones isn't. He wants a serviceable player back for his serviceable player. So,
and the biggest challenge we have is if you look at the way that Jay Crowder has behaved on social media, we're not waiting till deadline to move Jay Crowder.
Yeah, no.
So if we can move Crowder and a Shamet to Miami, with Miami sending picks and whatever else to Utah, picks and Duncan Robertson, and we pick up a Bogdanovic, we don't lose any draft capital for future trades.
Fuck no, we got rid of Shamet.
That's kind of where I'm leading anyway. All right, next one. Greg Moore, some NBA journalist, said the Suns are a perfect fit for Russell Westbrook.
Did he mean the Gold Coast Suns, or who's he talking about?
No, he meant the Phoenix Suns. Boy, comments.
Oh, man. I listened to you fuckers talking about Russell Westbrook being a quality player. Give him a team where it's just fucking, he's going to have the ball in his hands 90% of the time, and then you're going to get some good numbers out of him, and you're going to be a really unhappy fucking 10th seed maybe. But put him on any contender, and we've seen it, and we've fucking seen it time and time again. Shit just goes fucking pear-shaped. Greg Moore is a fucking idiot, and and look, I was, God, I'm not even going to talk on it anymore because it's absolutely fucking. The European fucking anyway, yeah.
The American Luka? Is that what you
were
going to say?
I was thinking about one of Ash Shaw's old fucking European Westbrook. That was working.
Is Luka.
Yeah, that's what he called Luka.
Trev, that's good. We could skip through this one quickly. Go, Trev.
Yeah. Look, I was initially had this guy pegged as flog of the week, but I've actually found a dumber comment, if you believe, for that. So we'll get to that later. But yeah, seriously, you don't have to do anything these days to be an accredited journalist. You could just say whatever. I don't even know if he believes himself, to be honest. It's just a stupid comment. And let us move on, please.
Hey, mate.
Fuck no.
Greg, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but Russell Westbrook's contract's worth $44 fucking million. If Russell Westbrook was on a $10 million expiring and we need the backup guard,
Yeah, like an
fair
MLE or something like that, like we get Carmelo for. Yeah, fucking A.
but
I'm all for it.
but a $44 million trade, the Suns are going to have to send half their fucking squad to LA just to get Westbrook in. Wake up to yourself. It ain't going to happen. All right, today, Phil Jackson said that if he started a new franchise, his number one pick would be Bill Russell. So I have a question for you guys. If we're starting a new Suns franchise, who would be your number one pick? It must be a former Sun, but they can be in their prime. Anyone who's played for the Suns in their prime, who would be your number one pick to start the Phoenix Suns franchise again? Boyd.
Ooh, in their prime. I wasn't ready for that one. Dude, I will go with Shaquille O'Neal. Yes. Big diesel, man. Shaquille O'Neal. Simply because oh man, he and I know he's not gonna I don't know. Fuck. You know, it's Shaquille O'Neal, man. He's just a fucking powerhouse. And I don't okay if it's in his prime, can we be playing the league rules of his time? Come on.
Trev.
No, Hacker Shack.
Trev.
Is this like a butterfly effect? So if I say Robert Ory, that means he'll be a Sun and he couldn't hip check Steve Nash into the scorers table in that San Antonio series. Can we do that?
Well,
No, for me, it will be the great Stephen John Nash. Absolutely adore him. Great shooter, phenomenal passer. Can make even the most benign, insipid player look like an NBA star. So he will do me. Thank you very much.
Hey, mate.
I'm really torn between two in their prime if we're talking injury-free future. Oh, man, I'm going to go with Penny Hardaway, but it's very hard not to say Stoudemire.
We had Stoudemire in his prime. He wasn't that good. No, I'm with Boyd. It's Shaq every day of the fucking week.
Oh, look. Well, hang on, though. Penny, though.
Yeah, Penny was great for who Penny is, but Penny wouldn't have been Penny and wasn't Penny without Shaq.
No, look, that's just not fair because Shaq went on to dominate various other teams as well.
And why did Shaq go on to dominate? Because he was fucking Shaq.
Yeah, but you're talking about anyone. No, all right, move on.
Yeah, anyone. Shaq. I would take Shaq every fucking day of the week.
Any random person that somehow has played for the Suns.
Number one pick, I'm taking Shaq every day of the week.
You taking Dragan Bender at number 2?
4.
Of course.
I'm taking Bender at 4. But
Good.
no, Shaq definitely for me. All right. Now, I have a little game for those in the chat. There's not a lot of you, but there's 4 of you. So we want to see your answer as well as you guys here. I'm going to play a video. It goes for 12 seconds. There is 4 random Suns. You guys need a pen and paper. You guys need a pen and paper. And you need to answer who these Suns are. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Those in the chat, I want you to do the same thing. Put the 4 names in the chat.
All right.
Here we go. 4 Suns, 3 seconds per photo. Let's go.
Oh, too easy.
Let's give it a couple of seconds, see whether anyone in the chat is willing to throw up 4 names. But has everyone got their names down?
Yep.
Yes.
Not a fucking chance.
Did any of you get all 4?
Yep.
Yes.
I'll back myself in. Very confident.
Very nice. Okay. Picture number 1. Boyd, who was it?
Teletovic. Mirza.
No.
Trev, who was it?
Ryan Anderson.
Hamo, who was it?
I'm going to say Ryan Anderson, but I literally have no idea.
It was Ryan Anderson.
That was Teletovic. I'm sure of it.
Picture number 2. Who was it?
I got Carter.
No.
Hamo. No idea.
Starberry.
Trev.
Michael Redd.
It was indeed Michael Redd.
This is good. This is good.
Picture number 3. Hamo.
No, some Euro
Hamo,
dude.
you are 0 from fucking 3 here, Hamo. Boyd.
I got Turkoglu.
And yeah, nodding there, Trev. You're going
That's right.
with Turkoglu.
Who do he
Turkoglu.
do? That's right.
Turkoglu was correct. So bad luck there, Lance. Thanks for throwing that in, but incorrect payer. And the last one, Hamo.
I wouldn't have a clue, man. I'm not.
0 for 4, Boyd.
Come on. Haven't you watched the Malice in the Palace doco yet?
Yeah,
Come on now.
Oh,
Trev,
dude, I'm shocking with faces.
The great Jermaine O'Neal.
it was absolutely Jermaine O'Neal. And well done, guys. You enjoyed that one? That was.
Can we do this? Can we do this for an hour and a half
Sensational.
next month? This is awesome. I'd be all over this.
Yes.
All right, next segment, and the reason I did that then was so that you guys could get a pen and paper. Boyd, you need to make some notes for me.
All right. Let's
Thumbs
go.
up, thumbs down. We have 4 questions. Question 1: the Suns should push all of their chips in for a trade for SGA. Hamo. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Trev. Thumbs down. Boyd.
Thumbs up.
I am also a thumbs up. From our new guys, Jock Landale is the most likely to crack our rotation. Hamo. So our
What do
new
you mean by
guys,
crack?
our new guys will be Jock, Josh Okogie, Damian Lee. That's pretty much it at the moment. Is Jock most likely to crack the rotation out of those 3 guys?
Thumbs up.
Trev is also a thumbs up. Boyd.
Thumbs down.
And I am also a thumbs down.
You're all over a Kogi, dude.
Now he knows we're going to trade back for Aaron Holiday. That's why.
Question 3. Dario Saric is the Suns' power forward moving forward. Hamo.
Thumbs down.
Trev. Boyd.
Thumbs down.
And I am also a thumbs down. And the last question, Jordan Clarkson is the fix for our backup guard issue. Hamo.
Thumbs down.
Trev. Thumbs down for Trev. Boyd.
Thumbs.
And I am also a thumbs down. Let's go back to the start. Question 1. The Suns should push all their chips in on a trade for SGA. Hamo, Trev, who wants to go first? Why should we not do this?
Just by virtue, you have to give up too much. Big fan on SGA. Unless the only way you could do it is if you were moving Chris Paul, because then the rest of the core will all fit nicely in age. But they're not going to do that. So I just can't see. I think we'll be giving up too much because every man and his dog will be lining up to grab him. I just can't see it. I just can't see it working out for us.
Hamo.
Same sort of thing, man. I don't think we need. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Sorry. Yeah, same sort of thing. I don't think we need him. Like unless we do like get rid of Chris Paul kind of thing, and which could be an option moving towards sort of halfway through the season. But yeah, I think there's better backup point guards out there than SGA. I really do.
Boyd, do you want to go first here or me?
You go, mate. I think I'm going to agree.
You're going to agree. There is no better backup point guard out there than fucking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You're kidding. If SGA's coming off our bench, we are fucking dominating in the second unit. My bigger picture on an SGA as a backup point guard is the fact that SGA becomes our first option when Chris Paul retires. Chris Paul has 2 years left in the NBA at best, and we need to replace him. At the moment, we don't have an answer to replace Chris Paul.
So what are you giving up for him, though? That's what I want to know.
Well, look, I am doing this on the premise that Kevin Durant is gone. Yep. Right? So we have first rounders, we have expiring contracts. That we are in a really, really strong position to pick up a guy who is effectively a future All-Star in comparison to someone who is already an All-Star, Kevin Durant. We have someone who could potentially be a future All-Star who is a perfect fit next to Devin Booker and in this current roster, who has 2 years to learn off Chris Paul. That, to me, is absolutely invaluable. SGA is, and Hammer said we can get better backup point guards. SGA is not a backup point guard. He's a starting point guard.
And that's the point. You're talking about people who've got a year or two to learn off Chris Paul. I think he's already set in his ways. I reckon you could find better ones. Like, I'm not going to say names. Give me one
example. Just give me one example.
To learn under Chris Paul.
Argument, give me one example.
To learn under Chris Paul?
Someone achievable that we can get now. Give me one example.
Kobe White.
Who?
Kobe White.
He is
under the tutelage. Under the tutelage of Chris Paul.
It's not funny. Kobe White's a shooting guard at best, and he is a bench shooting guard. He is not a point guard.
Well, you look, every time I say Cole Anthony's name, you shoot me down. So, give me one Tar Heel, would you?
Well, I'd take Cole Anthony before I took Kobe White.
Thank you.
When was the last team that had a guy? Well, I don't know. Like, I've just checked his contract. He's $30 million.
Yeah, he's expensive.
Coming off the bench for $30 million, you reckon he's going to buy in for that?
Behind Chris Paul, I think he would.
Yeah, King Oath, man.
Knowing that he was going to take over and roll into a team that is still championship caliber. When you look at the age demographic of our current list outside of Chris Paul.
So let's look at it this way. A few first round picks, which aren't going to be great. Landry Shamet, about 10 million. Dario, about 10 million. Jay Crowder, about 10 million. You're right up there.
You're done. You're well.
All these guys are expiring. It suits what Oklahoma's doing. They're,
especially with Chet out for the year.
And Shamet's definitely expiring.
Shea and Chris Paul have a really good rapport with each other. You just tell these guys, hey, look, we're going to put you on the same squad.
Well, that's true. They played together a couple of seasons ago. Yeah.
So you just tell them, say, fucking work it out, guys. I mean, who wants to be the bigger man? One of you. We can stagger you guys. You're going to play similar minutes. There could be some lineups with a book moving to more of a 3 position, if he was okay with it, of course. We could see all 3 of them guys on the court at once, and it could work. Not the same 3-headed Hydra that we had back in the day with Isaiah Thomas, but I'm just saying, you'd ask the question to your big guy, say, hey, here's what we can do. Do you want to make it work? And if they say, yeah, fucking pull that trigger, and you pull it quick, because that not only gives the window we're in right now, a really good chance of bringing it, but it brings us a window for another
future windows. Yeah,
a 10-year window. So yeah, no, look, if they could, there's a lot of ifs and buts, but if they could make it work and grit and fucking bear it in the short term, I think I think it'd be great.
All right, question 2 from our new guys. Jock Landale is the most likely to crack the rotation.
We had, we were thumbs down, Gav, and the other boys were thumbs up.
You two, Jock Landale, most likely to crack the rotation. Hamo, you can go first on this one.
Man, honestly, I think he's probably got the best chance out of any of them with his size, his length. Ish is going to be an absolute powerhouse when it comes down to it in the end of things, but he's still learning. Jock's already had a few years under him. I think Jock will crack it before Ish, and I think before Boyd's made a Kogi too.
Trev?
I just think with Jock's skill set, I could see him getting some minutes at the 4 as well, which is a position, that we can be a bit light on. If we're struggling for some boards, he can come in and chip in really well at that position. He can just go glass hunting, really, which is kind of our other options there. It's going to take Dario a little bit of time to get into sync. So I think early doors, I think he'll see a bit of minutes. So, I'd be confident he'd be the guy. Certainly think the other guys can. Okogie can certainly get it, but I think just by virtue of positions and roster construction at this stage, I'd give the nod to Jock.
Boyd?
Yeah, look, by all means, I hope Jock does it because it gives us Aussie fans something to go for. You know what I mean? But I think I said last week that Okogie's going to shoot 40+% from 3. He's a fucking hound defensively, so I think he's going to work his way in. And if we see our ranks thinning out in that wing area, I think he can definitely bump. He's not going to be a starter by any means, but I think he can move up to that, that top 8 rotation.
So based on our current roster, I think Jock's going to be behind DA, Biz, Saric. It's a lot of guys to try and get past. I do agree with Boyd, Okogie, good chance, but I actually think Damien Lee's going to play more. Will probably crack a rotation before, and that's only based on the current lack of depth at the guard that we currently have. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, great, but let's be honest, Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne both struggled significantly last season, which from my perspective means that Damien Lee's probably going to get an opportunity before those guys. As it stands right now.
Yeah, I still think Shamet makes you think about his position, though.
So say that again, Hammer.
I said the way that the question's worded about Jock Landale makes you think about his position in particular. Yeah,
which is centre. He's behind 3 others.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I just wasn't thinking more about the Okogie Wainwright kind of thing. I was thinking like the best player, not per position.
Yeah. I think the only way you crack our rotation is a role, not the player. But that's me. Next question. We all went thumbs down, and I think it's pretty obvious, but it was asked in the Facebook page. Dario Saric is our answer at power forward moving forward.
Nah, we're thumbs down on the last 2. So it's Cam Johnson, ultimately. And what was the last question?
Jordan Clarkson is the fix for our backup guard position or backup guard issue.
Yeah, well, we all said no, and I think he's not consistent enough with the offense. I don't think he's a bit streaky, similar to what we've got there at the moment. He's better offensively, but yeah, I just think he's just a defensive liability, and you're giving up draft assets and all that sort of shit. So no, I don't like Clarkson.
Costs too much money. Costs too much in trade capital.
You can get better for cheaper.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to our next segment.
I would kill everyone in this room for a drop of sweet beer.
Who do you want to have a beer with, Boyd?
Who do I want to have a beer with? I want to have a beer. Come back to me, please. Sorry again. I never think about this one. I want to have a beer with
Every
everyone.
fucking week, mate. It's on the agenda. It can't be that hard.
It is. It's tough.
Trev, who do you want to have a beer with?
This one's probably a bit self-indulgent, but after my last appearance, I had some rather nice well wishes passed on to me from Mr. or Mrs. I'm not actually quite sure. Sunderous Dunks on Twitter had some very nice things to say. So obviously only tuned in for 2 minutes, didn't see my full body of work, but no, always appreciate people that tune in and get involved. But yeah, pass on some nice words, and I printed out that tweet and taken off the kids' drawings off the fridge, and I've got it stuck there. So thanks very much. So my shout next time I'm in good old Phoenix.
It's a really, really good selection because he blocked Boyd on Twitter at some stage there, which was probably a good move. Hamo, who do you want to have a beer with?
Man, I wanted to do it last week, but I thought it might have been a little bit too controversial with all the mainstream media. But Shaq was over here, man. Holy shit! Who wouldn't want to have beer with Shaq? I couldn't do it last week because it was a little bit, if and ah. But if not him, then what's that little dude? Hasbullah? Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, he could be our backup point guard. Oh, Hasbullah?
He could be, man.
He's got a bit of.
I tell you what, it wouldn't cost you much in the shout with him either, right? You just get like little shot glasses. Yeah, he knocked out 2 Rabbitohs. I seen that.
Better than Aaron Holiday, I reckon. What do you think?
Hold on, Hamo. Boyd, who do you want to have a beer with?
Okay. After much thought, I've decided I'll have a beer with Caleb and your brother down there. And you're not fucking invited, Gav.
You can get fucked too.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
That's it. Who you got, Gav?
Neither of those two are good people.
This is brother that always rags on your lawn mowing.
Yeah, that's him.
And you're a dick. Whoever you are, you're a dick.
Just to make this all like absolutely clear, Boyd just said he wants to have a fucking beer with a San Antonio Spurs fan. You fucking traitor.
Yuck. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would love, again, I want to have a beer with Mikal Bridges. He's dominating Twitter at the moment. He's just burning it alive. And I don't know if anyone saw it, but they had the Mikal Bridges Appreciation Day at the Diamondbacks game because
it was his birthday or something, wasn't it?
No, the Phillies won the first series against the Diamondbacks, and they had a bet, the Diamondbacks and Mikal Bridges, and then they had Mikal Bridges Appreciation Day, which was on his birthday, and the Diamondbacks won, and Mikal was fucking sensational. He went out there with the Diamondbacks jersey on the whole night, just enjoyed the day. He's awesome on Twitter. Honestly, I think Mikal Bridges would be the best dude to have a beer with right now. He is just fucking fantastic.
Andy at the bar with those long arms, reaching over and just, thanks, mate. So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and if he couldn't reach with the amount of money he's got, he could certainly shout all night.
True story.
Our next segment.
Don't be a flog.
Flog of the week. Boyd, let's hope you research this one, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I have. Just at the start of the pod, if I'm being honest. Cody Hunt. He was on the solar panel. He's a Twitter Suns stats guy. And he seems to know his stuff. He seems to be a clever lad, but he's some of the shit he was saying on that podcast today. Phoenix Suns, as they're currently constructed, are a 0.1 chance of hit this season. Anthony Davis is a home run that he'd go for if giving up DA and Cam Johnson. He just look, this guy. I don't want to. He's just. I don't know. No, yeah, he's a fucking flog this week because of that podcast. Go listen to Solar Panels from today or Saturday.
Didn't listen to it this week. Glad I didn't. Won't now. Trev?
Mine is going to former NBA great, just asking him, Gilbert Arenas. So for those of you who don't know where I'm going with this, Gilbert was having a bit of a chat. And they were talking about, best players in the league and so forth. And Gilbert believes that Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't understand the game of basketball. Well, good Lord, if he ever does understand it, we're all in a world of trouble. But Gilbert, fair dinkum, mate. I don't know whatever happened here. You had it going for a few years, and then you brought your gun into the locker room, and dear, oh dear, you've been in orbit ever since, mate. So, you are flog of the week for myself, and, shut the hell up.
Very nice flog of the week. How, mate?
Man, I'm really this has to be said, but I'm really hurting to do this. I'm honestly not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm going to say it's Maya Jama. It was Ben Simmons's fiance up until about a day or two ago. And she came out and, they broke off the engagement, and she said some things about how he was not really into certain things and wasn't ready to play. And, that shit's not cool because all that does is give me more fire. So, yeah,
Are you sure?
It's really not nice.
Are you sure she said that, or are you just reading off the post that I posted?
Nah, from the stuff I got from my OnlyFans after paying so much money, man, that's what she said to me. So, I was pretty sure that it was her, but, it's still not fair. You don't come out and say that shit about someone who's obviously got some dramas going on. Here I am actually defending Ben Simmons. So we really need to fucking move on.
Jesus Christ. All right, my flog of the week, which is probably a little bit harsh, but FIBA basketball.
Oh.
Did anyone see what happened today alone in FIBA basketball?
Is this with Furkan? Nope. Is this with Korkmaz? Is this what you're talking about?
Korkmaz is one.
Yeah.
Lance
which is by far one of the funnest last names to say, better than Kogi.
So let me run through what the fuck happened with FIBA basketball just today. One day. Furkan Korkmaz was attacked by Georgian players and police officers following an on-court scuffle in a wild game that featured 3 ejections. Turkey then formally protested the result of the game, claiming 22 seconds were wiped from the clock during the scuffle. Lithuania defeated Germany. Lithuania versus Germany went to double overtime, with Germany getting the upset 109 to 107. Lithuania then protested the result of that game after no free throw was awarded after a technical foul. Jonas Valanciunas went off for 34 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists on 67% field goal and couldn't walk after the game. Belgium beat Spain in a crazy upset. Bosnia and Herzegovina. How do you say?
Herzegovina.
Stunned reigning champ Slovenia in an even crazier upset. And the USA game versus Brazil was abandoned at halftime due to rain. This all happened in one day of FIBA basketball.
One
FIBA.
fucking day.
FIBA, get your shit together.
Jesus.
What the fuck is going on?
That's a tremendous. That's tremendous. That's
That's
great
fucked up.
content.
Everything was happening today in FIBA basketball. We need more of it. Anyway,
People
gents,
slogan.
we're going to wrap it up. Fantastic show. Went a little bit longer than what we would have hoped, but it was great to have Caleb on, who gave us additional content when it came to a particular division in the East, and probably additional content when it came to the Eastern Conference as a whole. But last comments, Hamo, tell us where everyone can find you, all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah, man, I'm at Sir Hamo on Twitter. It's down there for you. Yeah, echo your statement, man. I thought that was really cool to have Caleb on. Looking forward to having some more of that kind of, outsider kind of views, man. But yeah, awesome to have you guys on the pod again. Let's do it next week.
absolutely. Hopefully, Lance was watching the show and he was in the chat. Hopefully, Lance will jump on and talk about the Clippers, because he is a Clippers fan, and we want to talk about how they are shit, irrelevant of whether or not their players were
We
injured.
need to address everything I said last week.
Trevi, any last comments?
No, just look. Oh, I should have done it at the top of the show, but just a belated Happy Father's Day to all our sons' dads out there. Hope they all had a good day yesterday, but always a pleasure to jump on and talk hoops, especially with the season getting ever so closer. So always exciting. And yeah, let's see what happens on the landscape this week, and give us a bit of content for next week. But other than that, be safe. Give us a follow on Twitter at TreviG82. Always happy to have a chat and a laugh with you. So have a good week, and we'll catch you soon.
Beautiful, mate. Jayana, thank you very much for the cap love. Very nice. Boyd, last comments?
Nah, I got nothing, man. Thanks for listening. Sorry for going for so long. And yeah, I love you, Ash.
Thank you very much to Caleb for jumping on tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to move forward with a couple of other guests over the next couple of weeks. Like Boyd said, sorry for going so long tonight. Like us, comment, do all that sort of stuff. We're getting a lot of views. So if you are still watching at this time, hit the like button. Hook us up. Look after us. It was great fun tonight. We will see you all next week. We're not far off. We've started speaking to the guys from Coast to Coast. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will have a combo pod with the guys from Coast to Coast, Dan Duarte and Flex. And we'll see how we go. But
how about
Paul, we will have you on. I promise. I mean, I know we're having discussions with other people. I know how you feel about us, but we will have you on. We love you. We love you. Thanks, guys. Love you. See you next week.